Rise Without Rage, Turning Rejection, Betrayal, and Pain into Powerful Audiobook. Life doesn't care about your feelings. It will reject you, betray you, break you down until you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Pain isn't the problem. Your reaction to it is. The people who rise aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who refuse to let it define them. They turn rejection into clarity, betrayal into boundaries, and suffering into strength. This isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. This is Rise Without Rage. Chapter 1. Stop waiting for permission to move forward. Let me tell you something most people will never admit. They're not stuck because they don't know what to do. They're stuck because they're waiting. Waiting for permission. Waiting for a sign. Waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to start. But here's the truth. No one is coming. No one is going to knock on your door and hand you a certificate that says you're ready. No one is going to validate your dreams. No one is going to tell you that now is the perfect time. Because there is no perfect time. There's only now. And every single day you wait is a day you're choosing to stay small. You have a choice. You can keep waiting for external validation, or you can give yourself permission right now. That's the key. Permission doesn't come from the outside. It comes from you deciding that you're done waiting. Think about it. How many times have you had an idea and didn't act on it because you thought you needed more experience, more money, more approval? And then you saw someone else do it. Someone with less talent, less preparation, less everything. Except one thing. They had more courage. They didn't wait. They moved. The world doesn't reward intention. It rewards action. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you sit on it, someone else will execute it. And they'll win. Not because they're smarter. Not because they're more talented. But because they acted while you were still asking yourself if you were ready. You don't need their permission. You don't need anyone's permission. The only person holding you back is you. Here's what waiting really is. It's fear disguised as caution. It's self-doubt dressed up as strategy. You tell yourself you're being smart. You're being responsible. You're waiting for the right moment. But what you're really doing is protecting yourself from failure, from judgment, from the possibility that you might try and it might not work. But let me ask you this. What's the cost of not trying? What's the cost of waiting another year? Another 5 years? What happens when you look back and realize you spent your entire life in the waiting room, hoping someone would call your name? That's the real failure. Not trying and falling short, but never trying at all. You have a choice. You can keep playing it safe, or you can decide that today is the day you stop asking for permission and start taking it. Real power doesn't come from being ready. It comes from deciding you're doing it anyway. It comes from saying, I don't have all the answers, but I'm starting. It comes from understanding that readiness is a myth. You will never feel 100% ready. You will never have all the information. You will never eliminate all the risk. And that's exactly the point. The people who rise aren't the ones who wait until everything is perfect. They're the ones who move despite the uncertainty. They're the ones who understand that action creates clarity. That momentum builds confidence. That every step forward, no matter how small, is better than standing still. Stop asking, am I ready? Start declaring, I'm doing this anyway. That's the shift. That's the key. You stop looking outside yourself for validation and you become your own authority. Think about the people you admire. The ones who built something from nothing. The ones who took the risk. The ones who made it happen. Do you think they felt ready? Do you think they had it all figured out? No, they were terrified. They were uncertain. They had doubts. But they moved anyway. Because that's what separates the people who rise from the people who stay stuck. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not perfect timing. It's the willingness to act without permission, to step forward without a guarantee, to trust themselves more than they trust their fear. You have a choice. Every single day you have a choice. You can wait for someone to give you permission, or you can give it to yourself. You can wait for the perfect moment, or you can make this moment count. You can keep rehearsing, or you can step on stage. The permission trap is this. You convince yourself that you need external approval to validate your direction. You need your family to support it, your friends to believe in it, your boss to acknowledge it, society to accept it. But the truth is, the people whose permission you're seeking will never be satisfied. They'll always find a reason why you should wait, why you're not ready, why it's too risky. Because they're projecting their own fears onto you. They're not protecting you. They're protecting themselves from the discomfort of watching you do something they were too afraid to try. So stop looking for their approval. Stop waiting for their blessing. Stop handing over your power to people who will never give you the green light. You don't need it. You never did. What you need is to decide. Decide that you're done waiting. Decide that you're moving forward, no matter what. Decide that your life is too important to spend it in limbo, hoping for permission that will never come. That's the key. Decision equals permission. The moment you decide, you give yourself the authority to act. And action is what changes everything. Chapter 2, Rejection is redirection, not failure. You're going to get rejected. That's not a possibility. That's a guarantee. The job won't call you back. The pitch will fall flat. The person will say no. The opportunity will close. And when it happens, you'll have a choice. You can take it personally, or you can take it as information. That's the key. Rejection isn't about you. It's about fit. It's about timing. It's about alignment. But it's never about your worth. Let me be clear. Every single person you admire has been rejected more times than you can count. The difference between them and everyone else isn't that they avoided rejection. It's that they refused to let rejection become their identity. They got told no, and they kept moving. They got turned down, and they adjusted. They got rejected, and they used it as data to refine their approach. Because that's what rejection actually is. It's feedback. It's redirection. It's the universe clearing space for something better, but only if you refuse to internalize it. Here's what most people do. They get rejected once, and they take it as confirmation of every insecurity they've ever had. They hear no, and they translate it to, "You're not good enough." They experience one setback, and they make it mean something about their value, about their potential, about their future, and that's the trap. Rejection doesn't mean you're inadequate. It means you're being steered. It means this path wasn't the right one. It means there's something better waiting. But you'll never find it if you're too busy convincing yourself that rejection is proof you should stop trying. You have a choice. You can let rejection define you, or you can let it refine you. Think about it. Every no you get is clearing space. It's removing an option that wasn't right for you anyway. It's closing a door that would have led you somewhere you don't belong. But most people don't see it that way. They see rejection as loss, as failure, as evidence that they should quit. But the truth is, rejection is data. Not destiny. It's information, not identity. It tells you what didn't work. It shows you where to adjust. It gives you clarity about what to change. But it never ever determines what you're capable of. That's the key. The moment you stop taking rejection personally is the moment you start using it strategically. Look at the most successful people in any field: business, sports, art, entertainment. What do they all have in common? They've been rejected more than anyone else. They've heard no more times than most people even try. But they didn't stop. They didn't internalize it. They didn't make it mean they weren't good enough. They adapted. They refined. They kept moving. Because they understood something most people never learn. Rejection isn't the end of the road. It's a course correction. It's the process working exactly as it should. You don't need their approval. You need your persistence. You don't need them to say yes. You need to keep asking until you find the right yes. Because the right opportunity isn't the one that accepts you immediately. It's the one that's actually aligned with where you're going, and rejection is how you find it. Here's what happens when you reframe rejection. When someone says no, you don't collapse. You calibrate. You ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What needs to change? What's the next move? And you adjust. You improve. You try again. Not because you're desperate, but because you understand that rejection is part of the process, not proof you should quit. It's not about rejection. It's about resilience. It's not about avoiding the no. It's about refusing to let the no stop you. You have a choice. You can treat rejection like a verdict, or you can treat it like feedback. You can let it crush you, or you can let it clarify your next step. You can make it mean you're not enough, or you can make it mean you're getting closer, because every rejection is bringing you closer to the right fit. Every no is eliminating what wasn't meant for you. Every closed door is redirecting you toward the one that's actually open. But you'll never see it if you're too busy mourning the opportunities that weren't yours to begin with. Think about the job you didn't get that led you to the better one. The relationship that ended that made space for the right person. The opportunity that fell through that forced you to create something even bigger. None of that happens if you let rejection stop you. None of that happens if you internalize the no as proof you should quit. That's the key. Rejection isn't the problem. Your response to it is. And the people who rise are the ones who refuse to let rejection become their story. They get rejected and they move forward. They hear no and they find another door. They experience setbacks and they use them as setups for something better. Because they understand that rejection is redirection. It's not failure. It's not inadequacy. It's not proof you're on the wrong path. It's proof you're on a path. And every no is steering you toward the right yes, but only if you keep moving. Only if you refuse to make rejection mean something it doesn't. Only if you treat it as data instead of destiny. Stop asking, why did they reject me? Start asking, what do I need to adjust? Stop thinking, I'm not good enough. Start thinking, this wasn't the right fit. Stop seeing rejection as an ending. Start seeing it as a redirection towards something better. You have a choice. You can let rejection stop you, or you can let it sharpen you. You can take it as proof you should quit, or you can take it as feedback to refine your approach. You can see it as failure, or you can see it for what it really is, a filter removing what doesn't belong so the right opportunity can find you. That's the shift. Rejection isn't about you. It's about alignment. And the faster you understand that, the faster you stop wasting energy on doors that were never meant to open and start focusing on the ones that are. You learned that rejection is redirection. Now let's talk about what happens when trust is broken. Chapter 3. Betrayal reveals who deserves your energy. Chapter 3. Betrayal reveals who deserves your energy. Betrayal hurts. There's no way around that. When someone you trusted turns on you, when someone you invested in walks away, when someone you believed in shows you they never valued you the same way, it cuts deep. But here's what most people miss. Betrayal isn't the problem. Your response to it is, you have a choice. You can spend years asking why. You can replay every moment trying to figure out where it went wrong. You can chase closure. You can demand an apology. Or you can accept the truth. They showed you who they are. And that's all the information you need. That's the key. Betrayal isn't a mystery to solve. It's a filter. It removes people who don't belong in your life. It clears out the ones who were taking more than they were giving. It exposes the ones who were never really on your side to begin with. And the moment you stop seeing it as a loss and start seeing it as clarity, everything changes. Let me be clear. The mistake isn't being betrayed. People will disappoint you. People will let you down. People will choose themselves over you. That's not on you. That's on them. The mistake is what you do after. The mistake is staying loyal to people who already showed you they're not loyal to you, because that's where most people get stuck. They know they've been betrayed. They know the relationship is toxic. They know the person doesn't value them, but they stay anyway. They make excuses. They give second chances. They convince themselves it was a misunderstanding. They hold on because letting go feels like failure. But holding on to people who don't deserve you isn't loyalty. It's self-destruction. You don't need their apology. You don't need them to understand what they did. You don't need closure. You need distance. You need boundaries. You need to walk away and never look back. That's the key. Real strength isn't staying and trying to fix it. Real strength is recognizing when someone has disqualified themselves from your life and acting accordingly. Think about it. How much energy are you wasting on people who already told you they don't care? How much time are you spending trying to repair relationships with people who aren't even trying? How many opportunities are you missing because you're still holding space for people who wouldn't hold space for you? Betrayal is painful, but staying is worse. Staying means you're choosing their comfort over your peace. Staying means you're valuing their presence more than they value yours. Staying means you're teaching them that your boundaries don't matter, and the people who hurt you, they're not losing sleep over it. They're not replaying the betrayal. They're not asking themselves how to make it right. They've moved on, and the only person still suffering is you. You have a choice. You can keep waiting for them to change, or you can change your standards. You can keep hoping they'll see your value, or you can stop giving access to people who don't. You can keep trying to make it work, or you can accept that some people were only meant to be in your life for a season, and their season is over. It's not about betrayal. It's about boundaries. It's not about what they did. It's about what you're going to allow moving forward. Here's what cutting ties looks like. You don't announce it. You don't make a scene. You don't send a long message explaining why you're done. You just stop. You stop answering. You stop engaging. You stop making yourself available. You remove them from your energy and you rebuild your life without them. No explanation. No closure, no drama. Just distance. Because the truth is, people who betray you don't deserve your energy. They don't deserve your time. They don't deserve your emotional labor trying to help them understand what they did wrong. They already know, and they did it anyway. That's the key. When someone shows you they don't value you, believe them. Don't wait for more proof. Don't give them more chances. Don't convince yourself it was a one-time thing. Take the information. Adjust your boundaries. Move on. You don't need their permission to protect yourself. You don't need their understanding to walk away. You don't need their agreement to decide they no longer belong in your life. And here's what happens when you do this. When you stop tolerating betrayal and start enforcing boundaries, your circle gets smaller. But it gets stronger. You stop wasting energy on people who drain you and start investing in people who actually show up. You stop chasing loyalty from people who don't have it and start building with people who do. Because the people who deserve your energy don't make you question their loyalty. They don't put you in positions where you have to defend your worth. They don't betray you and then act like you're overreacting. They show up. They stay consistent. They prove through their actions that they value you. And those are the only people who should have access to you. You have a choice. You can keep letting people back in who already showed you they'll hurt you, or you can start being selective about who gets close. You can keep trying to fix broken relationships, or you can start building new ones with people who don't need fixing. You can keep waiting for closure, or you can give yourself closure by deciding you're done. It's not about bitterness. It's about standards. It's not about holding grudges. It's about protecting your peace. It's not about revenge. It's about respect for yourself. Stop asking why they did it. Start asking why you're still entertaining it. Stop waiting for them to apologize. Start deciding they no longer get the privilege of your presence. Stop trying to make people care. Start focusing on the people who already do. That's the shift. Betrayal isn't the end of your story. It's the filter that makes sure the next chapter only includes people who deserve to be in it. Chapter 4. Pain is temporary. Weakness is a choice. Pain is coming. That's not a threat. That's life. You will lose something you care about. You will fail at something that matters. You will experience heartbreak, disappointment, and setbacks that knock you down. And when it happens, you'll have a choice. You can let the pain pass through you, or you can let it set up camp and destroy you from the inside. That's the key. Pain is temporary. Suffering is optional. And the difference between the two is what separates the people who rise from the people who stay stuck. Let me be clear. Pain happens to you. Suffering is what you do to yourself. Pain is the moment of impact. Suffering is the story you tell yourself about it for the next 5 years. Pain is unavoidable. Suffering is a choice, and most people choose suffering without even realizing it. Here's what happens. Something hurts. A relationship ends. A deal falls through. A dream dies. And in that moment, the pain is real. It's sharp. It's overwhelming. But then something else happens. Instead of feeling it and moving through it, you start dwelling in it. You replay it. You analyze it. You build an entire identity around it. You stop being someone who experienced pain and start being someone defined by it. That's the trap. The strongest people you know aren't the ones who avoided pain. They're the ones who refused to let pain become permanent. They felt it. They processed it. And then they used it as fuel to build something stronger. Because that's what pain is supposed to do. It's supposed to break you open so you can rebuild better. It's supposed to show you what needs to change. It's supposed to force you to grow. But it only works if you refuse to let it turn into paralysis. You have a choice. You can let pain stop you, or you can let it sharpen you. Think about the people who inspire you. The ones who built something meaningful. The ones who overcame impossible odds. Do you think they got there without pain? Do you think they avoided suffering? No, they experienced the same losses you did. The same heartbreak. The same failures. The difference is they didn't stay there. They didn't camp out in the pain. They moved through it. It's not about pain. It's about what you do with it. It's not about avoiding hardship. It's about refusing to let hardship define you. That's the key. Pain will visit you. But suffering is what happens when you invite it to stay. And the moment you understand that, everything changes. Here's the psychology of resilience. Resilient people don't have thicker skin. They don't feel less. They don't experience less pain. They just refuse to let pain turn into a prison. They feel it fully. They acknowledge it. And then they ask themselves one question. What am I going to build with this? Because pain is raw material. It's energy. And you get to decide what you do with it. You can let it rot into bitterness, resentment, and self-pity. Or you can metabolize it into purpose, strength, and clarity. Most people let it rot. They hold on to pain like it's a badge of honor. They wear their suffering like it proves something. They stay stuck because staying stuck feels safer than moving forward. Because moving forward means letting go, and letting go feels like betraying the pain. But here's the truth. Holding on to pain doesn't honor what you lost. It dishonors what you could become. You don't need to carry it forever. You don't need to prove how much it hurt. You don't need to build a monument to your suffering. What you need is to process it, learn from it, and use it to build something that makes the pain worth it. You have a choice. You can dwell in what happened, or you can focus on what's next. You can replay the pain, or you can redirect the energy. You can let it paralyze you, or you can let it propel you. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about refusing to let pain become your identity. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about deciding that the hurt doesn't get to write the rest of your story. Here's what metabolizing pain looks like. You feel it. You don't suppress it. You don't avoid it. You don't numb it. You sit with it. You let it move through you. And then you ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What do I need to change? What can I build from this? That's the shift. Pain stops being something that happened to you and starts being something that happened for you. It stops being a wound and starts being wisdom. It stops being a setback and starts being a setup for something stronger. Because the people who rise aren't the ones who avoided pain. They're the ones who used it. They took the worst moments of their lives and turned them into the foundation of their greatest achievements. They didn't let pain make them bitter. They let it make them better. That's the key. Bitterness is what happens when you refuse to process pain. Strength is what happens when you do.
And every single day, you get to choose which one you're building. Stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?"
Start asking, "What am I going to do with this?" Stop replaying the pain. Start redirecting the energy. Stop letting it define you. Start letting it refine you. You have a choice. You can let pain turn you into a victim, or you can let it turn you into a force. You can let it destroy you, or you can let it develop you. You can stay stuck in what hurt you, or you can start building what heals you. Pain is temporary. Suffering is a choice. And weakness isn't about feeling pain. It's about refusing to move through it. The strongest people you'll ever meet aren't untouched by hardship. They're just unwilling to let hardship be the end of their story. They felt the pain. They processed it, and then they built something so powerful that the pain became irrelevant. That's what you're going to do. Not because the pain doesn't matter, but because what you build from it matters more. You learned how to turn pain into power. Now let's talk about the trap that keeps you performing instead of progressing. Chapter 5. Stop proving and start doing. Chapter 5. Stop proving and start doing. You're spending too much energy trying to prove yourself to people who will never be convinced. You're explaining your vision to people who don't have the capacity to see it. You're defending your choices to people who aren't even on your path. And every minute you spend performing for their approval is a minute you're not spending building what actually matters. That's the trap. The need to prove yourself keeps you in performance mode. And performance mode is about validation. Execution mode is about results. And you can't do both at the same time. You have a choice. You can keep trying to convince people of your worth, or you can start creating value that speaks for itself. That's the key. The moment you stop proving is the moment you start building. The moment you stop explaining is the moment you start executing. The moment you stop seeking approval is the moment you start creating impact. Let me be clear. People who need constant proof of your ability will never be satisfied. You'll show them results, and they'll question your methods. You'll achieve success, and they'll call it luck. You'll prove yourself once, and they'll demand you prove it again. Because it's not about you. It's about them. They need you to stay small, so they don't have to confront their own inaction. And the more you try to convince them, the more power you give them over your direction. It's not about proving. It's about doing. It's not about validation. It's about execution. It's not about convincing them. It's about outgrowing them. Here's what happens when you're stuck in performance mode. You make decisions based on what looks impressive instead of what moves you forward. You choose projects that will impress others instead of projects that build your skills. You spend time crafting explanations instead of creating outcomes. You're so focused on managing perception that you forget to manage progress. And the people you're performing for? They're not even paying attention. They're too busy managing their own insecurities to care about your growth. They're not invested in your success. They're invested in keeping you where you are so they feel better about where they are. That's the reality. Your need to prove yourself is feeding their need to keep you in place. And the only way to break free is to stop playing the game entirely. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You don't need them to understand your vision before you execute it. What you need is to stop waiting for permission and start building proof through action. You have a choice. You can keep explaining why you're capable, or you can start demonstrating it. You can keep defending your potential, or you can start realizing it. You can keep trying to convince them, or you can start building something so undeniable they become irrelevant. That's the shift. From performance to execution, from validation to results, from proving to doing. Think about the people who actually built something meaningful. Did they spend years trying to convince doubters? Did they wait until everyone believed in them? Did they perform for approval? No, they put their heads down and worked. They stopped explaining and started executing. They let their results do the talking, because that's what separates the builders from the performers. Builders create value. Performers seek validation. Builders focus on outcomes. Performers focus on optics. Builders move in silence. Performers need an audience. And here's the hard truth. If you're still trying to prove yourself, you're not building. You're performing. You're putting on a show for people who will never give you the applause you're seeking. Because the applause isn't the point. The work is the point. It's not about proving. It's about building. It's not about convincing. It's about creating. It's not about their belief. It's about your execution. That's the key. Your work should speak louder than your explanations ever could. Your results should answer questions before people even ask them. Your progress should make your doubters irrelevant, without you ever having to address them. Here's what execution mode looks like. You stop announcing your plans and start working on them. You stop defending your vision and start building it. You stop explaining your process and start trusting it. You shift from, "Let me show you why this will work," to, "Let me show you that it worked." Because proof isn't in the pitch. It's in the results. And the people who need convincing before you start are the same people who won't acknowledge you after you succeed. They'll move the goalpost. They'll find a new reason to doubt. They'll attribute your success to anything but your effort. And that's fine. Because you're not doing it for them anymore. You have a choice. You can keep chasing validation from people who will never give it. Or you can start building value for people who will actually recognize it. You can keep performing for doubters, or you can start executing for yourself. You can keep trying to prove you belong, or you can start building something that makes belonging irrelevant. Stop asking for their approval. Start building without it. Stop explaining your worth. Start demonstrating it. Stop trying to convince them you're capable. Stop being so capable they can't ignore it. It's not about them believing in you. It's about you believing in you enough to move without their belief. It's not about them understanding your vision. It's about you executing it regardless of their understanding. It's not about winning them over. It's about winning regardless. That's the shift. When you stop proving, you start doing. When you stop performing, you start building. When you stop seeking validation, you start creating value. And the moment you make that shift, everything changes. Because the people who matter don't need you to prove yourself. They see your work and recognize it. And the people who need constant proof, they don't matter. They're not your audience. They're not your investors. They're not your team. They're spectators. And spectators don't build anything. You do. So stop wasting energy trying to convince people who will never be convinced. Stop performing for validation. Stop explaining your vision to people who can't see it. Put your head down. Do the work. Build the thing. Let your results speak. And when they finally notice, don't stop to explain. Keep building. You learn to stop proving and start doing. Chapter 6. The silent cost of seeking validation. Every time you change your direction to please someone else, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you adjust your standards to fit their expectations, you move further from who you're meant to be. Every time you seek approval before making a decision, you hand over your power to people who don't have to live with the consequences. And the cost? It's silent. It's slow. But it's devastating. That's the trap. Validation feels good in the moment. Someone likes your idea. Someone approves of your choice. Someone tells you you're on the right track. And for a moment, you feel certain. You feel confident. You feel validated. But here's what they don't tell you. Validation is a drug. And like any drug, the more you get, the more you need. And the people who give it can take it away just as fast. You have a choice. You can keep chasing their approval, or you can start building your own certainty. That's the key. Confidence that depends on external validation isn't confidence. It's permission. And permission can be revoked at any time. Let me be clear. Seeking validation isn't about wanting support. It's about needing approval before you act. It's about making decisions based on what others will think, instead of what you know is right. It's about performing for applause instead of building for purpose. And every decision you make to please someone else is a decision against your own direction. Think about it. How many times have you adjusted your goals because someone didn't understand them? How many times have you dimmed your ambition because someone called it unrealistic? How many times have you changed your path because someone questioned it? That's the cost. Every time you seek validation, you're handing someone else the authority to define your worth. You're giving them the power to determine whether you're on the right track. You're outsourcing your confidence to people who don't have to live your life. And here's what happens. You start performing. You make decisions based on what looks good instead of what feels right. You choose paths that impress others instead of paths that align with your vision. You chase opportunities that earn approval instead of opportunities that build your future. You become a version of yourself designed for their comfort. Not your growth. It's not about validation. It's about direction. It's not about their approval. It's about your alignment. It's not about what they think. It's about what you know. That's the key. The moment you stop needing their validation is the moment you start trusting yourself. And self-trust is the only foundation that can't be shaken. Here's the psychology of validation seeking. You've been conditioned to believe that external approval equals correctness. That if people agree with you, you're on the right path. That if they support you, you're making the right choice. But that's a lie, because the people whose validation you're seeking aren't living your life. They're not dealing with your circumstances. They're not responsible for your outcomes. They're observers, and observers will always give advice from a place of safety, not possibility. They'll tell you to play it safe, to choose the conventional path, to avoid risk. Not because it's best for you, but because it's comfortable for them. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. You don't need them to understand your vision before you pursue it. What you need is to become internally anchored so that your confidence doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. You have a choice. You can keep seeking validation and stay trapped in other people's limitations, or you can start trusting yourself and break free. Here's what becoming internally anchored looks like. You make decisions based on your values, not their opinions. You pursue goals that align with your vision, not their expectations. You define success on your terms, not theirs. You stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "What do I know is right?" Because that's the shift. From external validation to internal certainty. From seeking permission to trusting yourself. From performing for applause to building for purpose. And here's what happens when you make that shift. The right people show up. The ones who don't need you to perform. The ones who support your vision without needing to control it. The ones who respect your direction without needing to validate it. And the wrong people, they fall away. The ones who only supported you when you stayed small. The ones who needed you to seek their approval. The ones who confused their comfort with your calling. That's the filter. When you stop seeking validation, you stop attracting people who need you to stay dependent on them. It's not about rejecting support. It's about distinguishing between support and control. Support empowers you to move forward. Validation requires you to stay in place until you've been approved. Support says, "I believe in you." Validation says, "Convince me first." Support trusts your judgment. Validation questions it. Support enhances your confidence. Validation replaces it. That's the key. The people who truly support you don't need you to seek their validation. They give you their trust and let you build. And the people who require constant validation, they're not supporting you. They're managing you. You have a choice. You can keep performing for people who will never be satisfied. Or you can start building for yourself and attract people who already believe. You can keep seeking approval, or you can start creating value that speaks for itself. You can keep asking for permission, or you can start trusting that you already have everything you need. Stop asking, "Will they approve?" Start asking, "Does this align with who I'm becoming?" Stop seeking validation before you act. Start acting and letting your results validate your decision. Stop giving others the power to determine your worth. Start anchoring your confidence in something they can't touch, your own judgment. Because here's the truth. The version of you that needs their validation will never be free. The version of you that trusts yourself will never be stopped. Validation is expensive. It costs you time chasing approval, energy performing for others, authenticity hiding who you really are, and peace constantly worrying about their opinion. But confidence? Confidence is free. Because it doesn't depend on anyone else. It's yours, and no one can take it from you. Chapter 7. Anger without action is self-destruction. Anger is not your enemy. It's your alarm system. It's the signal that someone, or something, has crossed a line. But here's the truth. Most people refuse to accept. Anger doesn't destroy the person who triggered it. It destroys you if you don't do something with it. Uncontrolled anger is self-sabotage disguised as power. You yell, you argue, you throw things, you post online, you vent to friends, and you feel momentarily strong. But that's not strength. That's leakage. Anger without action is self-destruction. Every time you explode without purpose, you bleed energy you could have used to change your life. You think you're fighting back, but you're really feeding your enemy, your own ego, your own weakness, your own emotional chaos. 1. Anger is a signal, not a strategy. Anger means something needs to change. That's it. It's not the change itself. It's the call to action. When you feel anger, your body floods with adrenaline. Your focus sharpens. Your heart races. You are being primed for motion, not for destruction, but for direction. You have a choice. Burn it down or build something better. That's the key. Too many people let anger become their identity. They live in resentment. They replay betrayals. They fantasize about revenge. They call it staying real. But what they're really doing is staying stuck. If anger is the only emotion driving you, you'll never find peace, because anger without purpose turns into self-pity, and self-pity is the slowest form of death. The poison of unused rage. Let's be clear, suppressing anger doesn't make you noble. It makes you numb. And when you're numb, you stop growing. But exploding at everyone doesn't make you strong either. It makes you sloppy. So you have two poisons, suppression or explosion. Both lead to regret. Both lead to destruction. The third option, the rare one, the master's path, is transmutation. You transmute anger by converting it into disciplined action. You don't fight with words. You fight with results. You don't plot revenge. You outperform your enemies so completely that they fade into irrelevance. You stop waiting for an apology. You build a life that makes you untouchable. That's the power of channeling your anger instead of choking on it. The discipline of channeling anger. You want to know how to control your anger? Don't suppress it. Schedule it. When you feel that fire rising inside, don't react instantly. Step back, breathe. Delay your explosion by 10 minutes. That's all it takes to shift from reactive to strategic. Use that space to ask yourself, what am I really angry about? What boundary was crossed? What do I need to build so this doesn't happen again? Then act. If someone disrespected you, don't rant. Improve yourself so much they can't sit at your table anymore. If life feels unfair, don't complain. Train harder. Learn faster. Execute better. If your past still haunts you, don't drown in it. Use that pain as fuel to rewrite your story. You have a choice. To let your anger burn you down, or to let it forge you into something unbreakable. That's the discipline. That's the real strength. Build instead of break. You've probably heard people say, "Don't get mad, get even." Wrong. Don't get even. Get ahead. Revenge is just another form of dependency. It means you still care what they think. Freedom means you've turned your anger into creation. Every empire was built by someone who got angry at the way things were and decided to change them. Every movement started with someone who refused to accept disrespect and turned their rage into revolution. When you use anger to destroy, you become what you hate. When you use anger to build, you rise above what hurt you. So instead of arguing with people beneath you, outgrow them. Instead of obsessing over your haters, make them irrelevant. Instead of replaying what went wrong, design what goes next. Anger is wasted in conversation. It thrives in construction. Build your body. Build your mind. Build your mission. Build your peace. That's how you weaponize emotion without losing your soul. Turn the flame into focus. Anger can light your fire, but focus keeps it burning. Without focus, anger just flashes and dies. You have to learn to aim it. That means knowing your mission. If your life has no direction, every insult will derail you. Every slight will sting. Every obstacle will offend you. But when your purpose is clear, you stop reacting to noise. You don't waste energy on distractions. You become surgical with your intensity. The disciplined person doesn't yell, they execute. They let their results do the talking. They let their silence make others uncomfortable. You don't need their validation. You don't need to prove your pain. You just need to move, quietly, relentlessly, intentionally. That's the real revenge, peace. The mirror. Test next time you're angry. Look in the mirror and ask, is my anger helping me or hurting me? If it's helping, it'll make you sharper, more determined, more alive. If it's hurting, it'll make you bitter, reactive, and drained. The difference is action. Anger with no plan is chaos. Anger with a plan is transformation. Don't confuse intensity with impact. Don't mistake shouting for power. Power is control. Control is direction. Direction turns emotion into evolution. You have a choice, always. That's the key. 7. The challenge. Here's your challenge. Think of one person, one event, one injustice that still makes your blood boil. Now, stop talking about it. Stop replaying it. Stop waiting for closure. Instead, turn that anger into progress. Lift that weight. Start that business. Discipline that mind. Rewrite that story. Let your growth become your loudest statement. Let your calm become your weapon. Let your success become the silence that screams. You don't need their apology. You don't need their approval. You just need to act, because anger that stands still will always consume you. But anger that moves changes everything. You've mastered your fire. You've turned rage into reason. Chapter 8. Your past doesn't get to write. Your future, your past happened. You can't deny it. You can't erase it, but you don't have to keep living it. Too many people spend their entire lives inside a story that ended years ago. They replay the same failures, the same betrayals, the same pain, like a movie stuck on repeat. They convince themselves that because they were broken, they must stay broken. That's a lie. Your past does not get to write your future. You do. That's the key. The trap of the old. Story, you are not the worst thing that ever happened to you, but if you keep reliving it, you become it. Every time you say, that's just how I am, you hand your power back to your past. Every time you tell the same story of how someone hurt you, you cement that pain deeper into your identity. And every time you let fear of repeating a mistake stop you from moving forward, You give your history control over your destiny. You have to understand this. Your mind believes what you tell it most often. If you keep rehearsing pain, you'll keep reliving pain. If you keep repeating failure, you'll keep recreating failure. You don't need to pretend your past didn't happen. You just need to stop worshiping it. Stop building shrines to your trauma. Stop defining yourself by the worst chapters of your life. You are not the same person who made those mistakes. You've learned. You've evolved. You've endured. The story can change if you start writing it differently. Your past is a reference point. Not a prison. Your past is supposed to be a teacher, not a warden. It's there to guide you, not guard you. Every painful moment you've lived through was data, information. It showed you what doesn't work, who can't be trusted, what boundaries matter. It showed you your strength in the moments you thought you had none. That's the gift. That's the lesson. But when you refuse to move on, you stop learning and start looping. You trap yourself inside the same lesson because you never apply it. Listen carefully. The goal isn't to forget your past, it's to outgrow it. You have a choice. You can keep rehearsing old wounds, or you can use them as fuel to build something new. You can stay bitter, or you can get better. You can let your past define you, or you can let it refine you. That's the key. Stop playing the victim-victim mentality. Feels comfortable. It's predictable. It gives you someone to blame and something to excuse your inaction. But it also chains you to the same life you say you want to escape. Victimhood kills growth because when everything is someone else's fault, nothing is your responsibility. And if nothing is your responsibility, nothing will ever change. You can't control what they did. You can't change how they treated you, but you can control what you do now, and that's where your freedom begins. Don't need their apology. You don't need their closure. You don't even need them to understand. You need to take ownership. You need to decide that your healing is your job now. It's not about blame. It's about discipline. Discipline to rewrite your habits. Discipline to challenge your self-talk. Discipline to show up today, no matter what yesterday looked like. That's how you take your power back. How to rewrite the narrative. You can't rewrite your past, but you can rewrite the meaning you attach to it. That's where transformation happens. Start by reframing the story. Instead of I failed, say I learned. Instead of they betrayed me, say they revealed who they are. Instead of I lost everything, say I was forced to rebuild stronger. You don't lie to yourself. You redefine the experience. You find strength where you once saw suffering. You find growth where you once saw grief. That's how winners think. They turn every scar into strategy. Then change the script through action. Don't just say, I've changed. Prove it. Change your routine. Change your habits. Change how you respond to triggers. The past can't survive in new behavior. Every new disciplined action you take is a page rewritten. Every morning you wake up and refuse to let yesterday control you. You're building a new ending. That's how you rewrite your life, one choice at a time. What you do now is what matters. You are not judged by your past. You are shaped by it. But you are defined by what you do next. History doesn't decide destiny. Habits do. What you think, what you repeat, what you tolerate, that's what becomes your life. Stop saying, one day. Stop saying, when I'm ready. You'll never feel ready. Start now. Build the life your past self needed. Become the person your younger self would be proud of. The pain that broke you once can now build someone else if you use it right. That's the transformation. That's how you turn your story into strength. You have a choice. You can let your past write the next chapter, or you can pick up the pen. No one else is coming to save you. No one else can rewrite it for you. It's your hand. It's your ink. It's your life. That's the key. The future starts with one decision. Your future doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins the moment you decide that you're done being defined by yesterday. Right now, you can choose to stop repeating the same patterns. You can choose to forgive yourself. You can choose to move forward. That choice, simple, quiet, powerful, is how you take back control. The only difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is this. The ones who rise stopped arguing with their past and started designing their future. You can too, but you must decide. You must stop identifying as the person who was hurt and start embodying the person who healed. Stop saying, "That's just who I am," and start saying, "That's who I was, and I've evolved." You don't need to erase your history. You just need to write a better sequel. That's the work. That's the freedom. Your past shaped you, but it doesn't own you. It gave you data, not destiny. It prepared you. It didn't punish you. You have the pen now. You decide the next chapter. You don't need their permission. You don't need a clean slate. You just need a new direction. And the discipline to walk it daily. You've broken free from the story that held you back. You've learned how to turn pain into purpose. Now it's time to learn what keeps that momentum alive. Chapter 9. Boundaries aren't walls. They're standards. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about keeping yourself intact. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you sovereign. People who get offended by your boundaries are the exact people who benefited from you not having any. That's the truth. That's the key. Boundaries are not walls. Let's make something clear right now. Boundaries are not walls. Walls block connection. Boundaries define it. Walls are built from fear. Boundaries are built from self-respect. A wall says, "I'll never let anyone in." A boundary says, "I'll only let in what aligns with my peace." You have to understand this. Boundaries aren't rejection. They're reflection. They reflect how much you value your time, your energy, and your sanity. They reflect what you will and will not tolerate. They reflect your standards for how you expect to be treated. When you lack boundaries, you invite chaos. When you build them, you invite clarity. You have a choice. You can either spend your life trying to please everyone, or you can build a life that pleases your purpose. That's the key. The cost of no boundaries. When you don't have boundaries, everyone else decides your schedule, your emotions, your priorities. You become a character in someone else's story instead of the author of your own. You say yes when you want to say no. You give energy to people who drain you. You apologize for simply needing space. And slowly, piece by piece, you start disappearing. You stop creating. You stop resting. You stop growing. That's not kindness. It's self-abandonment. Every time you betray your own needs just to keep the peace, you create silent resentment. That resentment will eventually show up as anger, burnout, or bitterness. You don't owe everyone access to you. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You owe yourself protection. Boundaries are that protection. They are how you tell the world, "I take myself seriously." Boundaries are standards. You don't set boundaries because you hate people. You set boundaries because you love yourself. A boundary is not a defense mechanism. It's a declaration of standards. It's saying, "This is how I expect to be spoken to. This is what I allow in my space. This is how I protect my peace." Boundaries aren't about control. They're about alignment. If someone respects you, they'll adapt. If they don't, they'll reveal themselves. That's the beauty of boundaries. They filter your life. They expose who truly values you and who only values their convenience. You have to understand this deeply. Your standards teach people how to treat you, and if you don't enforce them, people will always test them. It's not about arrogance, it's about discipline. The discipline to say no when it's easier to say yes. The discipline to walk away from what disrespects your values. That's real strength. The guilt trap. Here's what usually happens when you start setting boundaries. People will call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being distant or difficult. Good. That means the system of taking advantage of you just broke. Remember this. People who respect your boundaries will adjust. People who benefited from your lack of them will resist. That's the test. You will feel guilt at first. That's natural. Because your old self was trained to seek approval instead of peace. But guilt doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're growing. You don't need their permission to protect your energy. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You simply need to stand by them. Your peace is not up for negotiation. Say it again. Your peace is not up for negotiation. How to set boundaries. That stick. Here's how you turn boundaries from theory into reality. Step 1. Know your limits. You can't enforce what you haven't defined. Ask yourself, what drains me? What disrupts my peace? What feels like a no in my gut? Those answers are your starting point. Step 2. Communicate clearly. Don't hint. Don't hope they get it. Say it plainly. I can't take calls after 9 p. Mem. I'm not discussing that topic. I'm not available this weekend. Clarity is kindness. Ambiguity invites manipulation. Step 3. Enforce without apology. A boundary without enforcement is just a suggestion. When someone crosses it, you correct them once. If they keep crossing it, you walk away. Don't debate your boundaries with people committed to violating them. Step 4. Stand firm through discomfort. The first time you enforce a boundary, you'll feel fear. That's your old people-pleaser screaming. Ignore it. Growth always feels uncomfortable at first, but every time you hold the line, you build self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of peace. That's the key. Boundaries protect momentum. Boundaries aren't just about relationships. They're about your focus. If you say yes to everything, you'll have no energy left for your mission. Every interruption, every emotional vampire, every unnecessary commitment drains your discipline. You can't build a strong mind in a weak environment. That means protecting your schedule, protecting your energy, protecting your mind from noise and negativity. Your time is your life. If someone doesn't respect your time, they don't respect your life. Every no to distraction is a yes to direction. Every no to chaos is a yes to clarity. You have a choice. Be liked by everyone or respected by yourself. Choose wisely. The strength to walk away. A boundary is only as strong as your willingness to enforce it, and enforcement often means walking away. That's the hardest part, because walking away means accepting reality. It means realizing that some people only loved the version of you that had no limits. But real love, real friendship, real connection, respects space. It respects your standards. It respects your growth. If someone leaves because you enforced a boundary, They never planned to stay in your truth. They only wanted to stay in your comfort. Let them go. You're not losing people. You're losing the illusion of loyalty, and that's freedom. The challenge. Here's your challenge. Write down 3 boundaries you've been afraid to set, the ones you've been avoiding out of guilt or fear. Then set one today. Don't overthink it. Don't over-explain it. Just enforce it. Watch how quickly people reveal their true intentions. Watch how peaceful you feel once you stop negotiating your worth. You teach people how to treat you every single day. Your silence teaches them tolerance. Your standards teach them respect. It's not about being mean. It's about being clear. And clarity is kindness to yourself and to others. That's the discipline. That's the power. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need everyone's understanding. You just need your own alignment. Boundaries aren't walls. They're standards. They don't isolate you. They elevate you. You've learned to guard your peace. Now it's time to take that peace and put it in motion. Chapter 10. Power comes from what you build, not what you survive. You've survived things most people couldn't handle. You've been betrayed. You've been broken. You've been counted out. But survival alone isn't the finish line. It's the starting point. You don't get stronger just because you suffered. You get stronger because you built something after the suffering. That's the truth most people don't want to face. They want the badge of pain without the burden of purpose. They want sympathy, not responsibility. But real power doesn't come from what you went through. It comes from what you did after. That's the key. Survival is not the goal. Surviving means you made it through the fire. But power means you learned how to use the flames. There's a difference between endurance and evolution. Endurance says, I got through it. Evolution says, I grew from it. You can survive and still stay stuck. You can survive and still stay scared. You can survive and still live in the shadow of what happened. But that's not living. That's existing. Survival is the first step. Building is the next. You have a choice. Stay proud of what you've endured, or start creating what you deserve. That's the key. Pain is the beginning of power. Everything great you've ever admired in someone was born from pain. Resilience, grit, vision, discipline. None of those are natural. They're forged. Rejection teaches resilience. Betrayal teaches discernment. Failure teaches adaptability. Pain teaches perspective. Every hardship gave you data. Every scar gave you wisdom. Every fall gave you a foundation to rebuild stronger. But if you stop at pain, if you wear it like armor, you miss the point. Pain isn't meant to protect you. It's meant to prepare you. That's how power begins. When you stop resenting what broke you and start building because of it. You don't need to be proud of your suffering. You need to be proud of what you've built because of it. Stop worshipping your wounds. Some people live their entire lives telling the same story of what hurt them. Every conversation circles back to who betrayed them, who left them, who failed them. They've made their pain their personality. You can't move forward while clutching your past like a trophy. Your scars are evidence, but they are not your identity. They prove what you've overcome, not what you still are. You have to stop introducing yourself to the world through your wounds. Stop saying, I'm broken. Start saying, I'm building. Stop saying, I'm healing. Start saying, I'm growing. You survived. That's good. Now build, because the world doesn't remember the people who suffered quietly. It remembers the ones who used their suffering to create something unstoppable. That's the shift. That's the evolution. What you build defines. Power is not pain. Power is creation. What are you building? That's the question that separates survivors from leaders. You don't need to build an empire or a company. You can build consistency. You can build peace. You can build boundaries. You can build character, but you must build something. The most dangerous thing a person can do after suffering is nothing. Because pain, when left idle, turns to poison. The only antidote is creation, turning pain into progress. Every rep in the gym, every page you write, every morning you get up early, every time you say no to what drains you, you're building something that proves your suffering had meaning. That's how power works. Discipline. The bridge from survival to power discipline is the difference between I made it and I mastered it. Anyone can survive a storm. Few can rebuild the city afterward. You can't rely on emotion to carry you. Emotion fades. Discipline endures. It's not about how much pain you felt. It's about how much structure you've built to never go back. Every strong person you admire, every one, did one thing after pain. They replaced chaos with order. They replaced impulse with intention. They replaced emotion with execution. That's how you move from victim to builder, from broken to unstoppable. You have a choice every single day. Keep explaining your story, or keep expanding it. That's the key. 6. Your response is your power. You didn't choose everything that happened to you, but you always choose how to respond. Your response is your power, because your response is the only thing no one can take. When you respond with discipline instead of drama, you win. When you respond with action instead of excuses, you grow. When you respond with silence instead of argument, you rise. Power doesn't look loud. Power looks centered. People who react are controlled by circumstance. People who respond are controlled by clarity. Stop asking, why me? Start asking, what now? That's where the transformation begins. That's where the past stops owning you. You can't change what happened, but you can build something that makes it irrelevant. That's power. Build proof, not pity. You don't need sympathy. You need proof. Proof that you learned. Proof that you changed. Proof that the pain didn't end you. It elevated you. So start collecting evidence. Every action, every habit, every boundary. Let your new life be the proof that your old one didn't destroy you. Don't post about it. Don't announce it. Don't over-explain it. Just build. Because the strongest revenge isn't success. It's peace. And peace is built, not gifted. Stop waiting for the world to recognize your struggle. Start making it impossible to ignore your results. That's the discipline. That's the difference. The challenge, here's your challenge. Take one thing you survived, something that still echoes in your mind, and turn it into a project, a habit, a mission. If you were betrayed, build boundaries. If you were rejected, build skill. If you were abandoned, build self-respect. If you were doubted, build consistency. Turn every scar into a strategy. Turn every failure into a framework. Turn every weakness into a weapon. Stop waiting for someone to crown you healed. You don't need their permission. You just need direction. Because power is not a feeling. Power is evidence. And that evidence is built, day by day, by your actions. You have a choice, to keep surviving, or to start building. That's the key. You've made it through the storm. Now it's time to become the architect of your own peace. Your scars don't define you. Your response does. You've learned, you've rebuilt, you've risen. And now, the next step is legacy. Because what you build next isn't just for you. It's for everyone who needs proof that survival can lead to power, and power can lead to peace. You've mastered your rebuilding. Now it's time to learn how to protect what you've built. So here's where we are. You've been rejected. You've been betrayed. You've been hurt. And you survived all of it. But survival isn't the goal. Power is. Power comes from deciding that no setback, no betrayal, no rejection gets to stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. Stop waiting for permission. Stop seeking validation. Stop letting anger eat you alive. Stop replaying the past like it's a prison sentence. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't need them to understand. What you need is to rise. Build something so undeniable that the people who doubted you become irrelevant. Set boundaries so strong that the wrong people can't even get close. Turn every wound into wisdom, every rejection into redirection, every betrayal into a filter. This is your life. This is your power. This is your rise. Now go build it.